The 1990s were a transformative decade for video games. Thanks to rapid advancements in hardware, companies like Nintendo and Sony would come to dominate the home video game market, with consoles like the Nintendo 64 and Sony PlayStation selling millions of units. The world was being introduced to a new dimension of gaming, as the pixel art titles of the 16-bit era were reimagined with polygonal graphics. The jump from 2D to 3D is arguably the largest leap in the history of video games, and today we're going to talk about one of the earliest pioneers. When people think about the earliest 3D games, they might imagine titles like Mario 64, Wolfenstein 3D, or Doom. In reality, the earliest 3D games date back to the 1970s, though they primarily used vector graphics and rudimentary 3D techniques suited to the hardware of the time. It wasn't until the success of games like Doom and Wolfenstein that companies began to seriously embrace the transition to 3D. Argonaut software, founded by Jez San in the early 80s, was instrumental in pushing the boundaries of 3D gaming. Initially focusing on developing software for various platforms, Argonaut gained significant attention for its innovative work. Jez San made a pivotal move when he approached Nintendo at the Consumer Electronics Show with a groundbreaking demo called Eclipse. It was developed by Dylan Cuthbert and demonstrated 3D vector graphics running on the Game Boy, a feat that seemed nearly impossible at the time. The demo was shown to Nintendo executive Don James, who was so impressed that he arranged a meeting with Nintendo president Hiroshi Yamauchi. This meeting led to a fruitful collaboration, with Argonaut developing notable titles for Nintendo, including Star Fox and the Super FX chip, which enabled 3D graphics in the game. The chip was almost included in the Super Nintendo, but time restrictions complicated that. Instead, the chip was inserted directly into each cartridge that needed it. For a time, Argonaut and Nintendo had a strong partnership, but it began to fray in the mid-90s. Nintendo cancelled the already completed Star Fox 2 as they shifted focus to the launch of the Nintendo 64. Argonaut also pitched a 3D platformer featuring Yoshi, but Nintendo turned down the proposal. Some speculate that this rejected project might have inspired Super Mario 64. Jez is quoted as saying he felt like Nintendo used Argonaut and spat them out, even keeping a few of their developers. Needless to say, Argonaut's relationship with Nintendo was dead and they moved on to other projects. Just kidding, they released the Yoshi game anyway. Croc: Legend of the Gobbos was released in 1997 for the Nintendo 64. It was on the PlayStation and the Saturn. Oh, yeah, Sega was big back then too. Well, not so much when this came out, but you can't talk about the 90s without talking about Sega, and the immense damage the internet has done to this character. When I was younger, I remember loving video games, but not really understanding them. I wasn't very skilled at video games back then, and often gave up when things got tough. That's improved somewhat over the years, so I think it's time to revisit this childhood gem and finally beat it. Croc plays like most 3D platformers of that era. You control a little guy and you make him jump around. Each level is divided into segments featuring puzzles, enemies, collectibles, and occasionally minigames to add variety to the gameplay. Your objective in each level is to collect all 5 special crystals and rescue 6 Gobbos. The first level, aptly named "And So the Adventure Begins," sets the stage for the journey ahead. While the game's level design isn't flawless throughout, this initial level excels at introducing the gameplay mechanics and objectives. Upon starting the level, the first things that you see are regular crystals, a stranded Gobbo, and a door. Exploring this opening segment a bit more, you'll notice a crate, some floating platforms, 2 different enemy types, a hidden special crystal, as well as a secret entrance that requires you to perform a stomp move to access. These elements are crucial for future gameplay, making it essential to familiarize yourself with them early on. Navigating around this level gets us familiar with most of Croc's movement and abilities. I found it a bit difficult to control at first, as using the analog stick didn't feel great. So I ended up using the D-pad for movement, and while it was a bit annoying at first, I got used to it, and actually preferred it to the analog stick. The controls definitely feel inspired by Super Mario 64, but do not feel nearly as good. I don't think I have to go over the basic movement, but in addition to your standard running, jumping, and climbing, Croc has a stomp ability as well as a spin attack. You can also sidestep using R1 and L1, and that little feature helped out a lot when it came to centering myself before trying to make a jump. Platforming is central to this game, with nearly every level segment requiring precise maneuvers onto various objects. While Croc is in the air, you have the ability to adjust his trajectory left or right, which can often be the key to saving yourself from falling at the last moment. However, sometimes you were about to land on a platform, and for some reason you moved a little too far to the left and completely missed it. It happens. The game is split up into 4 islands, each island containing 6 normal levels, 2 boss fights, and 2 secret levels. When selecting a level, you're brought to a world map that looks a lot like the world map in Crash Bandicoot. Croc hovers over the map and you can choose which level you want to play. This makes it easy to go back and farm for extra lives when you need to. I needed to. A lot. Each island has its own theme, which often affects the types of enemies and hazards that you will encounter. The Forest Island is the first island of the game and also the home of Croc and the Gobbos. Despite being called the Forest Island, there are no trees. This island is known for its grassy exterior levels and volcanic lava-filled caverns that you need to navigate through. It's also the only island that has the bee enemy, hilariously named Johnny B. Goody. The Ice Island is next and introduces a few more mechanics to the game, including sliding all over the goddamn place. The momentum you have coming through a door is enough to fling you off the edge if you're not careful. The platforming sections on this island are a lot more difficult thanks to the icy terrain. Needless to say, this was not my favorite island. I want you to think of a water level in any video game. I'll give you a second. Now, it doesn't matter what game you thought of, because I know the water level that you're thinking of sucks. They always suck. And Croc is no exception. I haven't really mentioned tank controls in this video because Croc's regular movement didn't really feel like that for me, but the underwater movement? Awful. The buttons you have memorized to be forward and backward are now angling you up and down, and if you want to move, you have to press the jump button. I guess this makes a little bit of sense, but he's a crocodile. Why does he have such a difficult time swimming? I hate it. I hate it, and there's an entire boss battle underwater. I hate that too. The difficulty continues to ramp up on the desert island, with levels featuring sandy environments and these pitch black underground segments that require a lot of precision to get through, as well as various new enemy types. The castle level is technically the final level. I'll explain that a bit more when we get into the secret levels. This throws a lot of difficult platforming at you with little room for error. Most mistakes will cost you a life if you're not careful. I would say the most difficult level in the entire game for me was 4-6. You need to time your jumps so precisely, this section almost broke me. Each normal level is full of various collectibles. Crystals are the most common, and your goal throughout each level should be to collect as many as possible, as earning 100 crystals will grant you an additional life. However, crystals act as a shield as well. Taking damage while holding crystals will cause you to drop every single one of them. I believe it's impossible to pick them all back up, but you are able to grab a couple before they despawn if you're quick. And you're going to want to be quick, because if you aren't holding any crystals, any damage will kill you instantly and send you back to the beginning of the segment. If you run out of lives, you can choose to continue and start back at the very beginning of the level with 2 lives. There are 5 special crystals per level as well. These crystals are very commonly hidden in chests, disguised as regular crystals, or put in the most awkward places imaginable. If you manage to collect all 5 of them, you will gain access to a special locked door at the end of the level. This is an additional segment that usually offers more crystals, and always contains the 6th Gobbo. Now if you're asking yourself, what in the hell is a Gobbo? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Each level contains 6 of these little guys, and they're in the most precarious places. They make this annoying high-pitched scream when you're nearby to make sure you notice them, followed by an adorable cheer as you pick them up. After 3 normal levels, you encounter a boss fight. Baron Dante typically uses his dark magic to manipulate an animal or small creature and turn them into a detriment to your health. This is where the game starts to fall apart for me, because it doesn't matter what boss you fight, a majority of them play out exactly the same. You run around an enclosed area waiting for your enemy to miss their attack, which usually stuns them, then you get up in their face and smack them with your tail 3 times. If I talk about one of these boss fights, I've talked about all of them. There is one exception to this. Fosley is the only actual boss fight with a unique mechanic. Fosley has 3 balloons and hovers in the center of the level, with a circular platform surrounding him. There are 4 launch pads on the platform that fling Croc into the air. Fosley throws dynamite at you, and at first I thought that I needed to bounce at the right time and tail whip the dynamite back at Fosley. It's actually much easier than that. You just stand behind a launch pad and Fosley throws the dynamite, which will often land in front of you. It'll walk over the launch pad and get flung back, popping one of his balloons. Once I figured out what I was doing, this was the easiest boss fight in the game, but at least it was different. Even Baron Dante goes back to the same formula. I think they were running out of time to get this game finished, because this is what happens when you hit him. The first time, I genuinely thought I had died and the boss fight restarted, until I noticed he was doing different attacks. In fact, a lot of boss fights just end. The bosses don't have any sort of defeated animation, and as soon as you hit them for the 3rd time, you're prompted with a level complete screen, a short cutscene, then you're on your way. During the boss battles, I started to notice some odd issues with the game's collision. At times, Croc would just die when I was trying to attack the boss. I guess I was just getting too close, but that meant I had to position my attacks just perfectly, and it's incredibly frustrating coupled with the fact that you don't get any crystals during most of these boss battles, meaning if you lose them, getting hit just eats away at your lives. This felt a little unfair, especially when the boss hitboxes were so off. If you collect all Gobbos during the 3-level stretch before a boss battle, you get access to a secret level. There are 8 secret levels in total, and each has a jigsaw piece at the end. If you manage to collect all of the jigsaw pieces, you unlock a 5th island and the true ending of the game. This was probably the most difficult part of the game because of one minigame that I could not seem to beat. Throughout the levels, there are several minigames that reward you with a Gobbo if you complete them successfully. One of them is the popping game, which is similar to Whack-A-Mole. In this game, you have to step on 3 buttons to pop certain characters that appear from holes or pits. If you pop at least 25 of them, you earn a Gobbo. Another minigame is box shuffling. This one is relatively simple. 3 boxes shuffle around, and you need to track the box that contains the Gobbo. If you pick the right box, you get the Gobbo. If you're wrong, you get an extra life and the other 2 boxes disappear. And to collect the Gobbo, you need to restart the level. In the box chasing game, a Gobbo is trapped in a crate and you must chase it and jump on top of it to free it. The best strategy here is to just try to corner the crate and you catch the Gobbo. Finally, there is the crystal catching game, which I found incredibly challenging. In this minigame, you control a pot with 2 buttons that move it left and right. You need to position the pot under the falling crystals to catch them before they hit the ground. If even 1 crystal falls, the game is over. This minigame might have been solely responsible for doubling my playtime, even though it only exists in 2 levels. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I just could not get the hang of it, even while following a guide that shows me the order of the crystals. I wasted damn near 10 hours of my life getting these Gobbos to unlock the Crystal Island, and you know what? It wasn't worth it. Crystal Island contains 5 levels. 4 of them pay homage to each island in the game, bringing back their most difficult mechanics to piss you off one last time. And then the final boss battle just has you jumping from one piece of land to another and activating the gong. I kinda wish I had just given up, to be honest. It was not worth the amount of time it took to get all of these Gobbos, but I guess I could say that I beat the game, Overall, I enjoyed my time with Croc. I thought it was a well-designed platformer that didn't rely on too many gimmicks. The controls were a bit wonky and the levels could get difficult, but it never really felt unfair. Except for that fucking crystal catching game. And the boss fights that didn't give you any crystals. But aside from that, I liked it. Unfortunately, Argonaut Games would close in 2004, but not before developing an extensive library of games. Many former Argonaut employees would join the newly founded Rocksteady, who would become renowned for the Batman Arkham series of games. While I was recording this, Jez also confirmed that Argonaut Games is getting revived to give Croc the remastered treatment, so that's pretty exciting. But for now, that was my experience with Croc Legend of the Gobbos. It's not the best platformer ever made, but knowing the origin made me appreciate it a lot more. Until next time, thanks for watching.